So if you scan that QR code, it takes you to the Winnipeg website, which is called Assessment and Taxation. So we're gonna search. You can just look up here if you don't want to do this yourself, but I can actually search up any address and do some spying. Okay, so if you want to spy on your neighbors, you can do that. 1360 Redwood is Sisler's address. And don't go street or anything, just go Redwood. So 1360 Redwood, I'm going to go search. And that's Sisler, okay? So Sisler has, every house has a roll number. It tells you kind of in which neighborhood you're at. It tells you what the value is of it's an institutional property, and it's got a value of 11 million, okay? $11 million. That is the property itself, like the land and the building. 11 million, that's what Sisler is estimated or assessed as. It has 9.1 acres. It tells you what the frontage is, like how wide the property is at the front from end to end. And this is where it gets cool, okay? So this might not be as interesting to you, but you can go and click on the property map. If you click up here, property map, it's gonna give you a map of this area, right? So if I zoom out, and I zoom into one of these houses here, I hope none of you guys live there, but anyways, I don't know who you are. You can zoom in, and it gives you the price, the value of every single property. This is not the market value, guys. This is the city's estimation of your property. So let's click on this one here. That's worth 320,000. No, let's go to 381. The 381 is one of the most expensive houses. So you can click on it, and it'll get you to that house, and it tells you it's residential. The assessed value is 281. It tells you what the living area is, so almost 1,000 square feet, that it's a bi-level, that it has a basement, that the basement is finished, what year it was built. Air conditioning, yes. Fireplace, no. Attached garage, no. Detached garage, yes. It tells you a whole lot of information about the house, okay? And watch this. The frontage, this is important. We're going to talk about that today, how wide the property is. It's 25.2 feet. That's the width of your property, the front of your property, okay? It turns out that the width of your property determines how much you're going to pay if they make upgrades to your neighborhood. So if they redo the street in front of you, you're going to have to pay based on how wide your property is. So if they do the sidewalks, the streets, anything like that, you're going to pay for it. It's not free, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this little tour here. Let's talk about property taxes specifically here. So if you go to page 60, by the way, this is an ongoing cost. Okay, property tax is not just a one-time. You're going to have to pay that for the rest of your life while you live at that particular house. Okay, so you don't get to escape that, unfortunately. And property tax is comprised of two subdivisions. There's the education portion, and there's a municipal tax. Education, I bet you can all guess where that money goes to. It funds education. School buses, teachers, educational assistants, everything. Maintenance, everything. Municipal, though, goes elsewhere. It goes to roads. It goes to waste collection, some of it at least. It goes to improvements, snow removal, you name it. Anything that the city does, like you probably see some crews sometimes cutting down branches, right? They clean up certain trees, they cut down trees, like when they're dead or whatever. That's all city, and that's taxed. That is our tax money that pays for it. Property taxes are calculated, watch this, based on 45% of the value of the entire property, the lot and the building. So they don't tax you on the entire amount, just on 45% of the entire value. The value that remains is called, write this down, portioned. It's a portion, right? Portioned assessment. Portioned assessment. So I want you to think of it this way. This is the value of a home, including the lot, of course. The city is essentially, like if we split this in half, that'd be 50-50, right? So this is technically very close to 50-50. You only get taxed on 45% of the entire home, okay? So this portioned assessment is that piece right there, like the 45% of the entire value of your home, okay? So if you ever see the word, the numbers 45%, you want to take the entire value and multiply it by 0.45. This is something I want you to box in 60. So what makes up your property taxes? By the way, the government is trying to rule out, to phase out education portion, which is going to bring down our property taxes. But there's probably a catch somewhere. Like somehow education has to be funded, right? So I'm not too excited about that just yet. So you've got education taxes. There are sometimes two education taxes, right? If there are two education taxes, it could be education 1, education 2. Okay. I will highlight mill rate. That's the word of the day, guys. Mill rate with a different color. A mill rate. Keep that in mind. The mill rate for education tax is not the same as for municipal tax. Then the next portion is your municipal taxes. And this is taxes that support the municipalities. And the municipal taxes consist of general municipal tax and local improvement taxes. What are local improvement taxes? At the end of the day, we add it all up. Okay, we get you all in one final number. Local improvement taxes, improvements, right? The cost, based on the cost of improvements and your frontage. And the frontage is the width of the front of your property. And I'm just going to highlight that box there as well, even though that's coming back in a bit. To figure out your local improvement, I'm going to highlight this whole thing. I'm just going to multiply the frontage times the cost of the improvement per foot of property frontage. So these are going to be two numbers you're going to multiply. Okay? I'm going to give you an example because right now you're probably thinking, what? Improvements. Let's say it's like 50 feet. And you're going to figure out that, you know, to redo the sidewalk, let's say, it's $15 per foot. So you would just multiply that. I just made it up. So 50 times 15, that is $750. So that's how much the local improvement would be for that particular area, given that your house is 50 feet wide. If you had a house like the ones we just looked at that was 25 feet, you'd pay less for the improvement. Okay? Let's keep going. This is an actual property tax bill from the city. And I'm just going to give it two different colors. But here's your school tax, right? These are your school taxes. And then you've got the municipal tax portion. Like this is an actual bill that you get in the mail. Here's your municipal tax. Okay? It's not actually like red and blue. The actual bill is like colorful. But there's your school taxes. And here you look at your municipal tax, and then they add them all up. And then you get your net property taxes. And then this is your final balance owing here. You'll be looking at that balance owing. Okay. Here's another tidbit that you need to know. I would add that to my study sheet. Property taxes are due on September 30th of every year. You may enroll in the TIP program for monthly payments. Your bank will automatically take off whatever the property tax amount is for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Because can you imagine, you get this in June. Can you imagine you get that bill for $4,700, which is not outrageous. That's about, you can expect $3 to $5 grand. And you're like, oh my goodness, where am I going to get that money, right? So TIP program gives you that option to just pay monthly. You don't have to worry about that big bill. It actually says if you're enrolled in the TIP program, do not worry about this big number. It's okay. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Dun, dun, dun. I'm gonna stop after this. I won't do an example. All I'm gonna ask you is by tomorrow to have this thing right here on your study sheet. So, first of all, what is a mill rate? It's a metric term. It refers to a unit of 1,000th. So it's $1 for every $1,000. So I'll give you another example. If the mill rate is 2.357, okay? If you see a mill rate and it says 2.357, we actually have to write this as 2.357 over 1,000. So it's kind of like saying percentage. Someone makes 2.357% interest, right? You'd have to write that over 100, right, to actually work with it. So we're gonna have to make sure when there's a mill rate that we put 1,000, like it's always over 1,000. So this big box you can fit this into a business card section. I'm very sure of it. But this is calculating property taxes. So I would have this heading at the top here on my study sheet, calculating property taxes. And then I would just have all of these things. So everything else that I told you that on page 60 to highlight or anything like that, that is actually all comprised in here. So if you want the portion assessment, you take the assessed value, multiply it by 40.45. And maybe I will highlight this part. Once you have the portion assessment, we use it to figure out our property taxes. We have it there, and we have it there. Okay. So remember, the portioned assessment is 45% of the entire value of your home. So the city says, oh, what's your home worth? 500,000? Let's figure out 45% of that. Okay, we got that. Now we're going to take that 45% amount and multiply it by the mill rate for education. And we're going to get a dollar amount here. We repeat it. We get your portion assessment. We multiply it by the municipal mill rate. Divided by 1,000. You get a number there. If there are improvements, we take the frontage. This will be in feet. You can actually go ahead and write down feet. The frontage will always be in feet. I don't know why. We're a metric country. Apparently, this one didn't get changed, okay? So it's feet, improvement rate, either given to you or you get it from table. That's local improvement. And maybe if you could, just right here, I'm going to say the education taxes is like A, the municipal taxes is B, the local improvement tax is C. So you're doing this separately, right? You're coming up with these amounts separately. But if it asks for net property taxes, we take our education tax here, that's A. We add the municipal taxes, which is B. And if there are local improvements, we'll add that as well. Not always are there local improvements, guys, just so you know. And this one is the one I want you to highlight before. Minus credits. Always watch out for that. If there's a credit, you're going to have to subtract that from your total amount owing. Why are there credits? Why are there like, a credit is like you get it back, you get money back. And this is why. When they do the budget, they're like, we're going to get this much snow and it's going to cost us this much to remove it, so we're just planning for it. So if they end up not using all of the money that year, you get it back as a credit. They're not allowed to like stash the money. They have a fund, but they can't stash it too much. So any credit, make sure you subtract it, okay? Maybe before the bell goes, if you can copy this already onto your study sheet, that's great. Make it small. Like I'm saying like business card. What is a business card, right? I don't get a business card anymore. If you can, squeeze it into a small space like that if you can. Thank you guys. You were great.